I feel like every time I log into the internet and I go on Reddit, I see over and over customers complaining about cold plunge companies having awful customer service. And, of course, this is never in the direction of purchasing a cold plunge. Like, nobody complains that it's hard to get someone on the phone when they want to buy a cold plunge. But, of course, if you find yourself having trouble with your cold plunge further down the line, something inevitably goes wrong, it seems like it's quite hard to get someone from one of these cold plunge companies on the phone to, of course, help you with your issue. And, overall, I just see so many people just complaining about the customer service. Like, the customer service is based overseas, like just fully outsourced, or they have to, fill out tons and tons of forms just to finally get a response. And then the responses are slow. People just having terrible experiences dealing with cold plunge companies. So, for example, this is from a user on Reddit, and this is from someone that bought the Plunge All-In. Reaching Plunge customer service by phone proved impossible. Every time I called, I was routed through an automated phone menu, placed on hold, and then asked to leave a voicemail. I never managed to speak with a real person. And yeah, I've just seen countless of these exact type of issues, type of experiences dealing with customer services. I think with this case, with this user, he eventually got his problem rectified, which is a good thing. But overall, people just constantly complaining about how bad the customer service is. To which I'll say, yeah, unfortunately, this cold plunge business is very, very new. And most of these companies that you see popping up on Instagram and on Facebook or whatever, they're just not real companies. And they don't actually have customer service departments. A lot of these companies, they operate out of their mom's basements. And I've done a whole episode about drop shipping where there's these kids that can just spin up these cold plunge companies overnight. They get the products in from China, slap a logo on them, throw a Shopify website up, and they're just selling cold plunge off the bat. So obviously they don't have customer service departments. And now with AI getting better and better, we're just seeing customer service just completely moved to AI, where you're just speaking to a robot in loops. The sad reality of it is that most cold plunge companies out there, it's just about profit. Despite what it says on their website, most companies, they do not care about you. They do not care about your health. They are merely entities out there that are only concerned with making money at your expense. And, most of these companies out there, they're named Polar this, Ice that, Plunge this, Plunge that. And quite frankly, they're just not making quality product. They compete with each other by just getting cheap crap from China, throwing a logo on it, like I said. And then they just see who can spend more on advertising, who could put up better ads. And unfortunately, this is just the fiat world that we live in, where more money is spent on advertising than just making a quality product. There's a term out there, it's called planned obsolescence, and it exists everywhere in every field, and it certainly exists in the cold plunge industry as well. And what planned obsolescence is it basically means that companies create products that last just long enough to get you through your warranty, and the second that warranty is over, the products turn to crap. How convenient. Do I think this is on purpose? Not really. But I do think that it's a result of buying cheap crap and marking up the price. And I think it's a result of spending your basically entire budget on advertising. Whereas when you think about it, every single time you buy a cold plunge, for example, the price point's around $5,000 for these cold plunges, think about the fact that you're probably spending money on basically your own advertising. So, because a huge part of that $5,000 that profit is going towards putting those ads in front of you. So you're basically just paying to see your own ads, which is kind of funny and circular. And basically what it comes down to is that these companies just essentially have a formula where they spend X on ads, the product costs X, and as long as the ads cover that profit margin, then all these companies need to do is just ramp up the production, sell more, and then just spend more money on ads. And basically, you see the top cold plunge companies out there spending millions and millions of dollars on ads. But if they spend, for example, if they spend $1 million on ads, but it yields them $2 million of profit, that just works. And then they just ramp that number up. So they just keep spending more and more money on ads. And at the end of the day, their whole budgets are just ad-based. And like I said, it's really just not about creating a quality product or giving a customer a good experience. It's just about profit. And one of the major issues with these cold plunges and with these Reddit posts I see is about the warranties. And if you want to get more into these warranties, some of my friends in the industry have created something called the Cold Plunge Research Institute, and they have went ahead and done a deep dive into some of the warranty claims on some of these companies, and I'll put the link for their research in the show notes. But there's definitely some pretty interesting stuff here. Like, for example, as per the Plunge's website, their 1-year warranty starts on the date of purchase. So, for example, if you buy your Plunge in June and it doesn't arrive until July, now you only have 11 months left on your warranty because, like I said, the warranty starts from the date of purchase. You know, couple that with the fact that their customer service is super slow and most likely outsourced overseas. If something were to go wrong or your cold plunge arrives and it just doesn't work, that warranty is moving pretty fast, so you have to move fast. Another fun thing to note, because I was just on their website looking at their warranty information, is that it also says that the UVC bulb and quartz tube are only under warranty for 90 days from the original date of the purchase. So I guess these components are for their water sanitation, so like their ozone system or whatever. And we can see if something goes wrong with the sanitation system, you're basically only covered for 3 months. And that, of course, starts on the date that you press purchase. So really, like for the sanitation aspect of these cold plunges, you know, you really only have like 2 months for their warranty. And, you know, there's more and more issues with these warranties. Like, for example, the customer is responsible for covering the shipping costs back, and you know, let's just say there's a lot of fine print. Like I know a lot of these cold plunge companies, for example, in their warranty, it says that the tub can't be used for commercial uses. So if you use your cold plunge for commercial reasons, then all of a sudden the warranty is void. So basically, if a lot of people use the product, then they don't guarantee their warranty anymore. And I will say a lot of the problem with this are that people tend to be maybe a little lazy, although that's not the right word, but it's the best word that I could think of. But most people, they just want like a set it and forget it system. You know, they see these beautiful ads by these companies and they see this ice bath in this field outside. There's like a beautiful green field and a perfectly good ice bath in the middle of this green field, and they think, wow, for just the mere price of $5,000, I can have a cold plunge available for whenever I want to jump into it. Sounds easy, right? So basically these ads are pretty misleading because what they don't tell you in these ads is that these ice baths aren't supposed to be outside under the elements. So they can't be in this beautiful green field nestled up in the middle of a garden. They actually need to be inside. And a lot of these cases, if your cold plunge is left outside, that will also void the warranty. So there is like a piece of false advertising with a lot of these companies. One more thing with a lot of these tubs, if they are left outside, even if they are under cover from the elements, if the temperatures get too cold, the pipes can freeze. And when the pipes freeze, they could expand and break. Also, the internal components of the chillers can break in cold temperatures. So there's just a lot of things that can go wrong with these cold plunges. And, you know, it doesn't seem like that when you see these ads when you see these promises made by these companies, it just seems like you're going to get this unit, you just turn it on, add water, and it's going to work. And I hate to break it to most people, but that's just not the case because, for lack of a better word, water is kind of sketchy. There's so many things that can go wrong when you're dealing with water. I mean, that's why the whole plumbing field exists. That's why plumbers make more money these days than computer programmers, because water is not an easy thing to deal with. It erodes, it's corrosive. It's not easy. And when you're dealing with cold plunges, unfortunately, there's not really a set it and forget it type of solution that most people want there to be. Water requires constant upkeep and maintenance, and especially if you don't want to use chlorine like myself, it requires even more upkeep and care. You're just constantly testing levels, seeing what the acidity and pH of your water is. And, you see these ads and the water is sparkly clean, but in the real world, take it from me, if you're not upkeeping your water, it's going to get pretty gross pretty fast. So all this to say, if you are looking to buy a cold plunge, do your own research. Quite frankly, if you see ads popping up over and over, understand that that company is putting a lot of money into those ads. And when you go ahead and finally buy that cold plunge after seeing the same ad pop up on your feed over and over and over, you have to understand that these companies are professionals at putting ads in front of your face, and they're paying a lot of money to do that. And ironically, when you buy that cold plunge, you are essentially purchasing the ads for them that they are then putting in front of your face. It's part of their business plan. It's part of the way that the new social media models work these days. It's always important to remember that if the product is free, aka social media, if the product is free, you are the product. So just remember that. And my personal recommendation is to buy a cold plunge where you can actually access the chiller. So if something were to go wrong, you are able to swap the chiller out yourself, and you could fix any problem with the piping or whatever. And, if you are looking for an inexpensive cold plunging solution, my rule of thumb is that the fewer the components there are, the easier the cold plunges are going to be to maintain and swap out any pieces should an issue arrive. So just always keep that in mind. Really, with most things, probably in general, the fewer the components, the better it kind of is. So when you have these all-in-one units that just have everything built in and it's a plug and play, it's really not, because there's a ton of stuff under the hood, and if something under the hood were to go wrong, it's just going to be much, much more difficult to fix and troubleshoot. So I will end this podcast by saying, just like in all areas of life, do your own research. This is the Cold Plunge Podcast with me, Mike Gorman. Be sure to check out the video version of this podcast on our YouTube channel, and check the show notes for any references, studies, or links to anything I spoke about on our website at plungereviews.com/podcasts.